we didn't play any cover songs. We weren't like, yeah, let's just learn Angel of Death and jam that for 2 hours. No, we were like, show me what you got, guys, and yeah, here we go.
Welcome to the Dreams of Consciousness podcast. If the two of you would be so kind, would you mind introducing yourselves?
Hi, I'm Michael and I play the guitar in Species.
Hi everyone, I'm Hagrid and I play the drums in Species as well.
Michael and Hagrid, thank you for joining me. So, right off the bat, I have to ask you guys, how would you describe the music of Species? What would you say you guys play?
All right, I'll go. I think the term technical progressive thrash metal fits that. I mean, at least that's what we initially wanted to do, but I think that it's constantly changing, and that's actually part of the reason why we named our latest album Changelings. And that is because we're just trying to, use that basis of the thrash or the extreme music. I mean, not necessarily like the most extreme, I guess, but let's say kind of an extreme form of metal music and incorporate all types of other genres, subgenres or whatever and that we just like into it. So I guess the term progressive or technical thrash metal fits because I feel like that's what all the bands, within that style that were experimenting with this in the late 80s or early 90s were trying to do. So I think we're kind of following that scheme as well, but we're just trying to do this as much of, our own way as we possibly can. So yeah, that would probably be it. So that's why we stick to that name, I think, because I believe that it fits.
Hagrid, do you want to add anything to that?
I think that the topic's been exhausted by Michał already.
Yeah.
Well, it may be exhausted and this may be tedious, but I do want to ask, I think everybody understands what you mean by technical, and I think, everyone, at least everyone who listens to this podcast will know what thrash is. But when you say progressive, what exactly are you referring to? Does it have something to do with the song lengths? Is it maybe something about the way you arrange songs and your song structures? Is it maybe the way you draw from other styles outside of metal into your music?
I think it would be a mix of all of it. I mean, I don't think that you have to make long songs in order to make them progressive, I think it's just in the way of how you incorporate different styles and how you transition from the more heavier and the more, in your face type of parts of the music to the ones that are more atmospheric or create some kind of an atmosphere of, like, at least in our case, it's sort of a, fantasy sci-fi kind of vibe that we put in this music. I always treat this as from more of a compositional point of view and just simply having some kind of an idea and evolving around it, and perhaps it's as simple as having a riff or some kind of a phrase that you repeat, but you play it differently. You make it, evolve throughout the song, for example. That's how we, for example, compose the entire Waves of Time, which is, the third track on the album, which there's a very simple riff in that track, but it gets played in like 10 different ways throughout the song, and it just constantly evolves. And the other thing is that you're trying to tell some kind of a story, whether it's an instrumental track or whether it's through the lyrics. You're just telling a story through this music. It leads somewhere and it expands throughout the song length or the album length in itself. So that's how I treat it. But the cool thing about music is that everyone can understand it there. So yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely not about like showing off in any way, like showing off like one's skills or whatever. All three of us we are not like educated musically, so we are basically self-taught on our instruments. And about this technicality thing or progressiveness, I treat it as Michael said, as a music telling you a story. That's really, you don't have to have any lyrics to understand the story, and to once you listen to the album, you go through some kind of a journey, right? And that's what I always really liked about music, and about especially like some progressive or technical stuff. When it comes to technicality itself and drums, because drums are my thing, I really love how, how like simple grooves are connected with some more, let's call it, sophisticated approach towards, other instruments. So drums approach towards guitar that you have in music, that always like amazed me, how drummers can, put the rhythm all together and make it sound even more progressive or technical. Because sometimes you've got really simple riff in a way, but when you put, special, like when you compose drums, and eventually you can come out with some nice effect that this music can sound progressive or technical. But yeah, but definitely it's not about like playing as much as you can, or as many notes you can, or as many like some technical things, right? You're capable of.
I do want to get back to, Michael, what you said about composition and the way the riff evolves in your songs. But before we talk about your songwriting, I was hoping you guys could tell me a little bit about the history of the band and what brought you guys together, and how you guys knew each other before Species.
So let me start, because me and Peter, who is absent today, we've known each other, me and Peter, the bassist and vocalist, for like 13 or 12 years. In our hometowns, once we were not in Warsaw, but in our hometowns in Poland, we used to have our own bands, and we met in one major city of Poland like 13 years ago. Both of our bands performed a gig, and then like for the next 5 years we would meet here and there at the festivals or some concerts, and we always discussed music, and that we someday we would like to form a band together. And once Peter and I moved to Warsaw in 2017, and 1 year later Peter moved. Once I got to know that he's moving to Warsaw, we made an appointment. We rented some rec room, to play some riffs, and we basically started out the band. It was not called Species at the time yet, because a couple of months later, which was October of 2018, Peter met Michael at some party. Michael, maybe.
Yeah. I went to a show with a friend of mine. Actually, it was Krzysztof who did the synths on both of the albums, actually. So we went to a concert, and yeah, Krzysztof he told me that some of his friends are gonna be there, and we're just standing outside of the club hanging out, and I see this dude in a King Crimson t-shirt.
Nice.
And we're talking about music, obviously, because that's the only thing that you talk about, right? So we're talking about music, and he mentioned that that he has a friend, and they're jamming some stuff, and then he's trying to form like a thrash metal band or something, and they said that they don't have a guitar player. And I was already playing in a band at that time. I was playing in a band called Sarcóphag, death metal band. So I didn't think I would have enough time for that, but I said like, okay, let's see what you guys have, because we started talking, and he was like, yeah, I like all this technical thrash, like Coroner, Toxic, and like this kind of obscure bands like Aspid and all that stuff. And I was, yeah, that's really cool. Let's see, and we just met, and we immediately started playing, riffs. I mean, some of the riffs that we played on the first rehearsal, you can hear them on the first record. So I mean, it already, we didn't play any cover songs. We weren't like, yeah, let's just learn Angel of Death and jam that for 2 hours. No, we were like, show me what you got, guys, and yeah, here we go. So we already started playing, and then after a few months we had like 2 songs ready, and So we immediately got this connection, and I think we already had played in some bands, so that already gave us some kind of we kind of knew what we were doing, right? So with this, it all went very natural, and we had the 3-song EP or demo, which we released in 2019. We had that written at the end of 2018, actually. We wrote this thing in like 2 months or something. So yeah,
Yeah, so
yeah. So those were the beginnings.
so there were no auditions really. We just like in June or July of 2018, me and Peter, we started playing some riffs together, but like we were like meeting every second week or so, and only after Mike joined, we can call it like a proper, band formation because we started.
Yeah, we became a
Yeah,
power trio basically at that point. Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. You mentioned King Crimson, Coroner, Toxic. From those early rehearsals, did you already have a good idea of what kind of music you wanted to make with this project? Was it already heading into this progressive technical direction?
I would say so. I mean, maybe not, maybe it wasn't maybe we weren't experimenting, more and adding more of the, let's say, prog or like funk or fusion or all that kind of stuff into our music, because it was still like on the more thrashy side. But I've we've always been into different kinds of music. Personally, like I've always been into, technical death metal and all the weird bands that were kind of experimenting in the early 90s and releasing these weird records. So all the Nocturnus, Atheist, Pestilence, Cynic, all these bands. And I think that's something that, from the start, I knew that at some point, if we continue going into this technical thrash direction, this is something that I would like to also incorporate these maybe a bit heavier, but at the same time, a bit even more like just otherworldly stuff, into that music. So, yeah.
I remember that before forming a band, I was not that much aware of like technical thrash term itself. Like I knew like Toxic, Watchtower before, but really most of those kind of bands, it was Mike and Peter who introduced me to that bands. Peter actually is a huge fan, like number one fan I know of technical thrash metal.
Yeah, he knows like every band, every obscure
Yeah.
technical thrash band from all over the world. It's crazy.
We spoke a little bit about the way you write songs and the way you compose songs. It sounds like everything starts in the rehearsal space for you guys with jamming. Is that correct?
Yep,
Yeah.
you guessed it right. Exactly. I mean, every now and then, of course, someone would bring a riff or two, or like this kind of a part of like or like a song idea, but it's never the case that someone brings like a full song. I mean, we've never done that, except maybe like an interlude or something, but that's not really like a proper song, I guess. Like I did that acoustic interlude on the first album, and Przemek just added some like additional like bongo drums, or
Percussion,
yeah, some percussion or whatever you
African bongos.
call it. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So we did that, but aside from these little things, all the songs, they are 100% us working together in the rehearsal room. And we don't release a song, we don't record it unless we're just like fully, satisfied, all of us, with what it is. And of course, sometimes we start feeling the songs more after we actually recorded it, and we listened to it a little bit, and we played it a little bit more because with this album, for example, track number 6, we just like recently, when we were playing it over and over again, we were like, this song is just kick ass. I mean, because previously we didn't practice it that much, but now that we played the release show, and we got to play this song for the first time live, we were like, yeah, that's absolutely kick-ass song. But yeah, all of these tracks, they just, they are made in the rehearsal room, and
Mm.
it's only like a couple riffs or ideas that are brought.
Yeah, and it is time consuming, of course. It takes, I think, on average, maybe longer to make a song than if we were, if one of us were to bring like 90% composed songs and just, hey man, like compose some drums, do some bass to that. But it's not organic and it's not our way. And we really appreciate and like the way we compose music, because it's really like, it's very ours, and it's made live. Of course, we record it on some I don't know, even on the phone, and then we get back home and we listen to that, and we discuss how to put the certain fragments of a song, maybe change something, or I don't know, play some riff in two different ways. So it's very exciting part of this band, like on our side.
For some of the more adventurous or unique compositions you have, like Waves of Time or Biological Masterpiece, when do you get a sense that you want to push yourselves on the composition side, where you want to be more adventurous with the song? Is it while you guys are jamming and listening back to your recordings?
I don't think that there certainly is a kind of a push, because it comes naturally, I would say. And oftentimes it's just that we have lots of different ideas, and we just want to include all of them, and we want to try all of them. And sometimes the biggest pain point in this whole thing is trying to connect all of these together, because with a song like Biological Masterpiece, essentially the song is like, it starts off as like this techie thrash kind of death metal type of song, and then it moves into this like just prog rock territory, sounding almost like something, Rush inspired or whatever, and then it goes back into that proggy thrash to go into even more extreme territory with the final, closing riff, right? So it's just connecting these little pieces together, I would say, because occasionally we would add all types of interludes in there, but this all comes naturally, and we're like, you any one of us would come up with something and we will be like, I want to put that into this song, because I know it can fit there somehow, but we just have to do it. We just have to add it somehow. But I think it's pretty natural, and we're not really feeling like we have to make us every single song be like extremely crazy and just very, very ambitious in that sense, that it incorporates so many different subgenres, because you have songs like The Essence, which is just like a straight up pretty simple track, it's like a radio track pretty much. I mean, it's very catchy, right? It's still got its technical chops and stuff, but it's a pretty simple song. So I would say all of these things come very natural, and sometimes it's just difficult for us to, and we spend most of the time trying to combine all these elements together to make it all flow nicely, because in the end that's what you want to have. You want to have a record that makes sense as a whole, and the songs that make sense, especially if they're like 10 minutes long, right? So
Mike mentioned this closing riff and biological masterpiece, the outro riff. I remember, I don't know, like 2 or 3 years ago, even Mike came up on this riff at the rehearsal, and we were like that this riff needs to be on the new album. But really, for a long time, we didn't know how to incorporate this riff into any of songs on the album. But eventually, we liked the idea of putting it as an outro or coda, whatever you want to call it, because we really like this riff, and it sounded to us like it's not a chorus riff, it's not a verse riff, it's like some closing riff, pretty much. And about the process, I would add that many riffs come by just jamming, but not even like jamming when we all three jam together at the rec room. But let's say Peter or Mike are just tuning up and playing some random stuff on the guitars, and one of us, once we hear it, we are like, hey man, like please record it, or just don't forget it. It sounds
yeah,
cool.
or
And then
like, is that your riff?
yeah. Yeah, unfortunately, a lot of these great riffs that you play happen to be someone else's, and I don't know them.
Someone's riffs. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, very often they're not my riffs. Yeah.
There's no such thing as stealing anymore, just tributes.
Yeah, reconstruction.
Well, we're doing our best though. So,
So, the album that we're talking about is called Changelings, and it was released in September through 20 Buck Spin. We spoke about the way you guys compose songs for this album, but I'm wondering if going into this album, even though you guys don't really plan things out beforehand, if you felt like you wanted to try something new or maybe build on things that you did on the first album.
well, for me personally, there were quite a few things that I thought that didn't work out perfectly on our debut record. Some things that we could have, either recorded a little bit better or maybe composed a little bit better. And I just felt like that inspired me to maybe go a little bit crazier in this record with yeah, with the compositions. But at the same time, I don't really feel I don't really feel like there's any particular thing that, we wanted to. I mean, initially the plan was just to write a cool record, but then there were all these other things that started coming up, like we don't want to do like like a concept album or something, but we want to have, a longer track, an interlude, a ballad. We want to just put, some crazy riffs that at the beginning when we were writing this, we couldn't really even play some of them, you know, like I couldn't play some of this stuff when we were writing this at first. I had to practice that quite a bit. And, you know, so it was challenging ourselves, you know, in a way. And I feel like, yeah, just the previous album, there were certain things that I believe we just didn't manage to accomplish in a way that we initially wanted. It was still a good album, and you know, it represents that time in our lives and in our band's life, you know, but I feel like we learned a lesson from it as well, and we definitely wanted to make a step ahead in terms of the composition as well. And yeah, our abilities and writing skills, I think, also got stronger with this one.
Yep. And I think that on Changelings, this is same kind of music that we wanted to make as it was with the first record, To Find Deliverance. So basically, we play the same music as we did, but of course, you know, we are older. We spend more time on practicing, more time on, you know, analyzing the first record. And before the first record, of course, the EP, the demo, released in 2019. So it's like natural process of just learning how to make music better, like how to put all these fragments together better, how to record it better, how to be better prepared before entering studio. For example, for Changelings, after I recorded drums in one studio and before going to another studio, guys were practicing it, like recording instruments, you know, on some Reaper to my already recorded drums. And Mike would also compose a second guitar that he recorded on the album. So I'd say that we didn't have any like that we want to make this or that music. We just continued what we were already doing, but in a better way. And hopefully after this album, you know, with some time, we will come to certain conclusions on what we want to make or what we don't want to make on the next record, which is a natural process. And it's really exciting, you know, to see and to hear all the things that you learned throughout all these years. So great adventure.
Where did you guys record this album?
Yeah, so the drums, I recorded drums in Nebula Studio, which is owned by the guys from the band called The Tides from Nebula. And their drummer, Tomek, is also a sound engineer there. He records drums most of times, and he's a really great producer, great sound engineer. He really gave me a lot of great tips, and he pushed me even more. There were moments that I was like 100% sure that I gave my best, but he already knew by knowing how I played that I can do better, and he pushed me. So that was great experience, and it was the studio for the drums, Nebula Studio, and then we went to No Stress Studio, owned by our friend Philip, who is also a producer of Changelings. So maybe Mike, you can tell more about it.
Yeah, so yeah, we recorded all the other instruments in that studio in No Stress here in Warsaw. Both of these studios are actually in Warsaw. So Philip, just like Przemek said about Tomek from Nebula, Philip really, I really felt like I was working with a guy who knows when I can do better and who knows how I should play certain things to make them sound better. So that was it. It was pretty challenging. I mean, I think we were pretty well prepared for this recording, but at the same time, I feel like it was pretty challenging because yeah, I mean, I spent quite a lot of time in there. I had to record, these two guitars and then the solos and some of the stuff. Like I said earlier, I mean, I had to practice quite a bit. And Philip was definitely also pushing me in quite a few parts of the record to just make the best out of this and just telling me that, whenever I thought that this is good, he's like, you can do better, man. I mean, you can hear check this part out. I mean, this is not like working well with the drums or something. You can do better, or you can play this heavier or faster or whatever. Just yeah. So great guy, and he really made this album what it is, I think, together with Tomek also, and of course also Damian Herring from Subterranean Watchtower, who mastered the record. Because Philip from No Stress, he also mixed the album, but then we had it mastered by Damian Herring from Subterranean Watchtower, who's also a great guy. And I mean, this was our first time working with him, and he just did an absolutely great job. So I mean, yeah, we spoke a lot, we exchanged a lot of emails, had some calls, and great work from all of these people that were involved in this album. And yeah, I can really tell that we were in great hands throughout this whole process. So
Yeah.
really thankful for that. Yeah.
I believe you're also in a band with Philip as well, right? Is that correct? Are you guys in a thrash band with Philip?
No, Philip is he's a guitarist for like a couple of bands, but I play because you're asking if we are playing together, right? Or
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, Philip is a guitarist of R.I.P., another band that I'm a drummer of. Also, he's got this like new metal band called BHP. Yeah, great bands. So he knows how to play the guitar and how to like how is basically metal music working, because the guy is really open-minded when it comes to metal music in general. And that was also one of the reasons why we wanted him to be a sound engineer, and later it came out that he's also a producer. He had really so many great like approaches and ideas towards what he heard from us. So yeah.
And Damien, who mastered the album, has been on this podcast before. He's also in the band Horrendous, in addition to being an engineer. I'm curious, in terms of the mix and the master, were you guys looking for a specific sound, like maybe something from the era that you guys were talking about in terms of like Cynic and Atheist and bands like that?
Oh yeah. I mean, for me, some of those recordings, I mean, these are like some of my favorites, honestly, and I really like the production on these albums from the 90s. But honestly, I don't feel like we had this very specific, idea, because there's a lot of records that we like the way they sound. So, I mean, we would probably have some kind of references regarding specific instruments or something, but in the end, we thought that, after all, this is our record, and it doesn't have to sound like Death Human or whatever. It's we can try maybe making it somewhere close to that, but it doesn't have to be exactly this, because it's not Death Human, right? I mean, at some point, at first I might have had a certain kind of mentality that that I would like to go for that kind of sound from that era, but at some point I just realized that that's not really the way to go, because I think you just have to treat this as like a separate recording, and maybe you can have some kind of an idea of how you want certain instruments to stand out in the mix, or or in the final, or how how heavy and how loud and the master you would like to be. But I think in the end, you just have to treat this as like your own thing. I mean, I think if we made this album sound like Cynic's Focus or something, it probably wouldn't sound as good. And the other way around, I mean, if you made Cynic's Focus sound like Changelings, it probably wouldn't sound as good as it does normally. So I think it's just, you know, yeah.
It's, different, completely different music, different musicians, different time, like time of like history of music, right? Because now we could hear Cynic when they doing music. They didn't know Cynic, so I think they treated their music as something like as a different part, like a solo part of a solo thing within this whole pile of music albums. And when it comes to drums, I remember that I didn't want to sound I didn't want the drums to sound like specifically like on some given album. I wanted them to be big in a way and open when it comes to sound. So you've got some reverb there, natural reverb, of course, and obviously natural sound of drums was really important for me, because I don't like those like triggers unless it's really necessary in very extreme like death metal genres styles.
Yeah, and also we were not really going for, like particularly heavy production on this album, and so we didn't on the previous one, obviously. But with this, I mean, even though some of the songs are heavier, and they might even be going into like more, death metal territories in some of the tracks, I think that we didn't have this intention of making this a particularly heavy record, so some people might think that this album just isn't heavy enough, compared to some of the thrash that's out there right now. But it was never really meant to be. I mean, I think we just like to make stuff that's, pleasant to listen to. I don't want to sound kind of cheesy, but that's what it is in the end. I mean, if you play all these older records, they have this warm and pleasant sound, they just sound more organic. And also, of course, we want all the instruments to be very, very
On the front.
yeah, especially, with the bass playing on its own and not following the guitar for most of the album, actually. I mean, the bass lines are very, very different from what the guitar is doing, including, and of course that includes all the solos and other crazy stuff that Peter is doing there. So yeah, we just wanted a clear and not incredibly heavy, and just, yeah, a clear and not really heavy
Dynamic.
mix, I guess. And that's kind of what we were going for in here.
what do you think the role of the bass is in Species music?
Mm.
Well, I think there are a few roles. I mean, on I would say that obviously we are a trio and we treat each of the instruments here equally. So that's why we want to make them all very, stand out in the mix so that you can hear everything. And we do that also on our live shows. You can hear all the instruments. That's what we're going for at least. And I think so it's the role, obviously it's playing along with the rhythm section along with the drums, right? And creating that rhythm section, but at the same time it's following its own path, and working as an additional guitar or like a background guitar for example, when I'm playing a solo, right? Or it's doing its own solos in some of the tracks, like for example in Spirit Creation or in Born of Stitch and Flesh when Piotrek lays down a beautiful solo. So it's all of it. And we treat all the instruments equally, I would say. So yeah, I mean, it's just like all the others in the band, I guess.
Yeah, yeah. Peter is a big fan of funk music as well, and he likes to, slap the bass a bit. And he plays with his fingers, and I'd say that he's not like this. He's not as he doesn't play heavy on bass. He's like
Oh
he
yeah.
treats it really delicate in a way, but at the same time you can hear it, and it's very articulate. And what me and Peter are also very keen of is playing together, like drums and bass. I'm really obsessed with drums and bass in music in general. So you've got this vertical line in music that keeps it all together, and those are drums and bass guitar. And apart from three instruments playing together and separately, I would add that like additional instrument is bass and drums themselves together in this music. And I really like that, Peter from the very beginning, he's very aware of the place and the role that bass guitar and drums play in music in general. And we are very focused every time, let's say we compose the solo fragment that Mike is playing solo. We are very aware, and we work a lot on the bass and drums part, which is the accompaniment for the solo of Mike. And yeah, really like I've never played with better bassists and guitarists as well.
That's great. So at the time we're having this conversation, the album has been out for a month. Did you guys get a chance to tour or promote the album live?
Well, so far we've only played 2 shows since the release here in Poland, including a release party that we actually played on, well, we're recording this on the 14th, so we played it on the 11th, Saturday, 11th of October here in Warsaw was the release show. So we haven't really toured this album yet. We played some of the songs. We've played them for the last few years actually. Some of these songs are pretty old, including the opening track in Spirit Creation, or The Essence is a pretty old track as well. Born of Stitch and Flesh we've also played for quite a few years already. So people here, at least, because that's where we played the most, here in Poland, they had known these songs, some of them at least, for quite some time. But yeah, we're working on booking some shows for the next year in support of this record, and so far the reception has been pretty good, so we hope we can make it to as many places as possible. Yeah.
Yep.
Cool. So Changelings is out now through 20 Bucks Spin. Hagrid and Michael, please tell everyone how they can order the new album. What's the best way to get it?
Well, you can get it directly from the label, of course. Go to 20 Bucks Spin's web store or the Bandcamp and just you can get yourself a copy there. Also, if you can't find it, there's all kinds of distros all over the world that are carrying the release as well. You can also, I think you can even pick it up on Amazon or whatever. 20 Bucks Spin has a really great distribution, so yeah.
And 20 Bucks Spin came up with, I believe, 3 different variants for the vinyl.
Oh yeah.
I'm not sure how many of those are still available or if they're sold out. But do you want to say anything about the vinyl?
It's beautiful, as everything that 20 Bucks Spin releases. Yeah, I mean, I've always been a fan of the releases and just the presentation and everything, and it's just exactly the same with this album right here. So my personal favorite is the In Spirit Marble. I think it's still available, so you can still get it at 20 Bucks Spin's website. I think it's exclusive to their website, so it might be a bit more difficult to get it here in Europe. But if you're in the States, then they still get them. And the tapes are pretty beautiful as well. Yeah, I love the tapes. They're just amazing.
And so before we started recording, we spoke a little bit about some of the issues that you're having with international mail and sending out merch. Do you want to say anything about that?
Yeah, it's only regarding the shipping to the US because currently we cannot ship any of our stuff that we have on our own Bandcamp, which includes some of the t-shirts, patches, or a self-released live CD that we did recently. Unfortunately, the Polish Post does not ship to the US currently as we're speaking here. So I don't know when this is going to be back, but of course we will announce it when it's back. We still have plenty of copies of the live CD. We just did a new t-shirt design, so they will still be available for some time. I hope that this shipping issue is resolved. But of course, if you're anywhere in Europe or anywhere else actually in the world, you can get also some of our merch on our Bandcamp, where we're just posting all the self-release stuff or the merch, and occasionally copies of our debut album on the CD. Currently, we don't have them, but you can get that also from Awakening Records and different distros. I think 20 Bucks Spin actually has the debut album on CD in their web store as well, so you can get that. Yeah.
It just occurred to me that the unintended consequence of all these tariffs and shipping problems is that we're going to get a whole bunch of bootleg merch now on both sides of the Atlantic.
Well, Species bootleg merch, yeah. I don't see that coming really, but I mean,
I'm sure there's a fan out there who's got a silk screen or an iron-on and wants to make his own shirt.
perhaps, I don't know, maybe we'll see it one day.
I would do it.
Yeah, we just saw some guys doing a Species beer here in Warsaw. Maybe we're gonna do a collaboration or something.
Oh, yeah.
So we'll see. We'll see about that. Yeah.
That's awesome. And if people want to get updates on the tours that you mentioned, tours that may be happening next year, what's the best way to follow you guys online?
Oh, Facebook, Instagram,
Well, Instagram.
yeah, or simply email just speciesofmetal@gmail.com. Or you can find us at Instagram at speciesofmetal, or on Facebook simply, So, yeah, just contact us directly. We're pretty responsive actually, due to releasing the album in the States and contacting all the people involved in the release. We kind of changed our working scheme, let's say, so due to the time difference.
Right. Yeah.
So we're pretty responsive even at night, usually. Yeah.
We don't sleep.
Yeah, not at all.
So it was good talking to you guys. Is there anything else you want to say? Anything else you want listeners to know?
Thank you so much for having us. Thanks for checking out our music, and stay tuned for the next releases. Yeah.
And concerts.
And concerts, yeah, sure.
And thanks for the invitation.
Thank you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.